Greetings, this is Reverend Yue McCormick of True Vow Temple. In this presentation, the fifth of 10 parts, I will be talking about the Hoben Pan, or Skillful Means chapter, whose initial prose passage is recited in the morning and evening devotional practice and other services of Nichiren Buddhism. In this video, we will cover the following portion of the Hoben Pan. Shoi shaga nyorai hoben chiken hara mitsu kai gu soku. Which means, why is this? Because the Tathagatas have fully attained all skillful means and paramitas of knowledge and vision. The question, why is this, refers to the Buddha asserting that since attaining Buddhahood, he has been using various skillful means, such as parables and stories about past life causal connections, to free sentient beings from their attachments. He has to resort to such skillful means, because what he has realized is too much for ordinary deluded people to understand all at once. Even if they did understand some of it conceptually, that would not really bring about their liberation, much less the attainment of their own Buddhahood. So the Buddha has had to draw upon all the skillful means that he has mastered to lead people step by step out of their delusions and attachments and point the way to the freedom and selfless compassion of Buddhahood. Now let's look at some key terms used in this passage. The first is mitsu, a transliteration of the Sanskrit term paramita, which in English can be translated as perfection. According to the Treasury of Abhidharma treatise, the paramitas receive the name of paramita because they have arrived, gamanat, at the other shore, param, or the totality of the perfections proper to each of them. According to the Princeton Dictionary of Buddhism, this explanation is more of a pun than an actual explanation of the word's origin, which probably derives from the Sanskrit word parama, which means highest or supreme. Usually the paramitas, or perfections, refer to the bodhisattva practice of the six perfections: generosity, morality, patience, energy, meditative absorption, and wisdom. But here the term is being applied to all the perfections that flow from the knowledge and vision of Buddhahood. The Chinese characters for knowledge and vision, which are pronounced chi and ken in Japanese, are a translation of the Sanskrit words jnana darshana. The knowledge and vision referred to in a Buddhist context is the direct apprehension of the three marks of impermanence, suffering, and non-self that characterize all conditioned phenomena. It is this direct apprehension of the three marks that brings about the wisdom that liberates beings from suffering. In the Dhammapada, we find 3 verses that recount the 3 marks that characterize the authentic teaching of the Buddha. These are, all conditions are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one is disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity. All conditions are suffering. When one sees this with wisdom, one is disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity. All phenomena are non-self. When one sees this with wisdom, one is disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity. Any discourse that claims to be a teaching of the Buddha should be consistent with these. The 3 marks mean that all conditioned phenomena are impermanent and therefore suffering, because they are unable to provide lasting satisfaction or ease. Therefore, no fixed and abiding self can be found in any phenomena, whether conditioned or unconditioned. Conditioned phenomena, or dharmas, are what comprise our experience of life within the 6 lower realms of rebirth. The unconditioned, or nirvana, is what is awakened to by those in the 4 higher realms, the arhats, privately awakened ones, bodhisattvas, and Buddhas. In these verses, it is asserted that those who realize, which is to say, attain the knowledge of vision of impermanence, suffering, and non-self, will become disenchanted with the vicious cycle of the 6 lower realms, and be able to travel the path to purity. This means they will purify themselves of greed, hatred, and delusion, and attain the 4 higher realms. Notice a distinction made in these Dhammapada verses that is sometimes lost. They assert that while conditioned dharmas or phenomena are impermanent and suffering or unsatisfactory, They do not say that the unconditioned is impermanent or suffering. However, non-self is applied to all dharmas or phenomena, so that both conditioned things and also the unconditioned, or nirvana, are without a fixed, substantial selfhood. It is worth mentioning that the Buddha's second discourse in his 50 years of teaching was given to the 5 ascetics of the deer park after they had heard the first discourse on the Four Noble Truths. This second discourse was about the 3 marks of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. It was by hearing and understanding this second discourse that the 5 ascetics were able to become arhats. These 5 ascetics are also present in the Lotus Sutra, wherein they also receive the assurance of Buddhahood. Their initial understanding of the 3 marks, therefore, opened the way to their deeper understanding that culminated in their attainment of Buddhahood. Mahayana Buddhism seems to revise these 3 marks. For instance, in the Mahayana Nirvana Sutra, the Buddha says, "Self is what Buddha means. Eternity is what Dharma body means. Bliss is what Nirvana means. Purity is what Dharma means." According to the 3 marks, the unconditioned, usually referred to as nirvana, can be said to be free of impermanence and suffering, but it is asserted that it is still non-self, or selfless. Now in the Nirvana Sutra, it is being asserted that the unconditioned, related to as the Buddha, the Dharma body, nirvana, or just Dharma, can be said to have the 4 virtues of purity, bliss, eternity, and self. It does this by reversing what can be said of conditioned things and using the term self in a unique way. If conditioned things, such as our body and mind, are impure, then the Dharma, as the true reality, that is unconditioned, is free of impurity and therefore pure. If conditioned things are unable to provide unconditional satisfaction, and therefore are unsatisfactory, the nirvana, as a realization of the unconditioned, is free of that suffering and is therefore experienced as bliss. If conditioned things are impermanent, then the Dharma body, the unconditioned, must be permanent or eternal. Finally, if conditioned things do not qualify as a substantial, independent self, then the Buddha, who is awakened to the unconditioned, may be related to as the true self. The true self is not a self apart from other selves or things, but is the selfless self of our unconditioned true nature, also called our Buddha nature. In pre-Mahayana, the knowledge and vision of the 3 marks of impermanence, suffering, and non-self enable one to cross over to the other shore of liberation. This means that through one's own dedicated efforts, one can cross over from the suffering of the 6 lower realms and reach the noble states of the worthy ones, or privately awakened ones. But here the Buddha is saying that he has fully attained all skillful means and paramitas of knowledge and vision, which is to say all the perfect qualities of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that flow from truly seeing the true reality of all things. This means that the vehicle the Buddha crosses over is not just a small raft for himself, but more like an ocean liner that can bring over multitudes of sentient beings. This is the one Buddha vehicle, the vehicle for developing skillful means and all the perfections of knowledge and vision that all who follow the Buddha's teachings have boarded. I now bring this 5th of a 10-part presentation on the Skillful Means chapter of the Lotus Sutra to a close. I look forward to your questions and comments. May the merits of this talk on the Dharma extend universally to all, so that we and all living beings together accomplish the Buddha way.